Not overly big deal. Everything except for the ground more or less comes off the same direction. I can move the ground to another location. Just so I don't get squirrely, like I'm seeing a bunch of holes in here. I would hate to get this off and have, I mean, I know I've got the wire connection, but call me paranoid. But I'm just going to be a little more cautious in those orientations there. I might have to do a little bit of tapping here. See if I can get something to just pop on that shaft to bump the motor out. There we go. This bracket mounting assembly. Hopefully this is not going to be a pain in the butt to me. I'm going to do some scribing. I need to get this apart and then back on this guy here. And I do see my shaft mark, so that's good. These two are pretty close on that, but I can tell you that the shaft on the new one is longer. That's looking like 3.5 off the casing, and this one is 4, but that'll be okay because we'll do the mark, since we'll measure off the mark, and because the motor is, depending on where you pull the tape, it's slightly different as well. Ourselves a cluttered work area here. I know some of the universal systems, they got different ways that you have to mount all this. So what I'm thinking is I should be able to take part of this apart. It should just sandwich the motor. Okay. That's special. Sandwiched in with 2 screws on that. That's how we got it there. Okay, definitely got some. I'll show you guys this here in a second. Definitely got play on the shaft. It sits there a little bit different. I just have to find out if the lip is, which way the lip goes. These are just solid. So it's going to have to be like that. With that raised edge going up against the motor, not out. Otherwise I wouldn't be able to get the bracket over it. We'll find out in a second if that's a correct picture or not. Okay. Let's move a few things out of the way. Try to not bump too much stuff. I'm going to just flip that over like that. Here's old. New. Yeah, so that's how it's got to go in there. There we go. Like that. Get that one off. I already have that one on. Move our wires out of the way. I gotta keep coming over here checking, make sure I'm giving you guys good video. The good thing is that pretty much everywhere where we need to tighten something down, we already have it. It's kind of worn that way, so even though my marks are on there. I think the dimensions on this are just enough. All right, it's time to get, I'm gonna do some vacuuming up on the blower unit.
2,000 years later.
All right, so we went out, did some cleaning up on stuff, and just one of those, I didn't like do a major white down on this, but I did take the squirrel cage out. This guy here, hosed him down. He was just, there's just enough dirt and crap in there. I was like, you know what, I can't put that back in there in good conscience. And let it run. But one of the things that I did remember as I was doing that, I had to take this little, I don't know if you can see it or not, I'm talking to the bottom here, but I had to take this little piece off here. There's a couple little screws. On mine they were 6mm. Could fold that back and then get the blower portion, the mechanical blower portion out. Hosed it off, everything came off pretty easy, vacuumed out the inside the best I could, got it all cleaned up as well, so we're ready to go back together again. But the important point to note here is you do want to remember like which side you have things on, otherwise you could get this blower in backwards and all your return vents are going to be supply and all your supply vents are going to be returns. Make for an interesting situation in your house, I'm sure, something you don't want. So just keep that in mind. If you do that, make sure you mark like I did, so you know that, you know, over here was where the wires were at. This is where the bracket pieces went, and on this side was the shaft side with the adjusting nut. So you know, I've got that all, you know, good to go as far as that's concerned. So what we're going to do now is we're going to get the motor. And get that more or less oriented, and at least get the shafts are. By the way, I haven't forgotten the start capacitor. We'll get that in a second here. But Get that started on there. And I'm just gonna snug it there for a moment. So let's let me get this flipped over. And actually, let's do this. Before I do that, because I don't want this blower piece banging around on me all over the place. Let's get the shaft rotated over to where that's at. Snug it down. It's not its final resting place, so I may have to flip that over and adjust it because this might leave it hanging in the air the wrong way, but with this. All right, now we're going to use our marks, if possible, for wiring. And we'll be a little bit close, just the way they came out there. Their unit versus the OEM. Just a little different. Not going to be a big deal. 20 extra wiring. So we've got a couple things. One, we've got the ground wire, which I'm going to take and I'm going to slide underneath. This is for reference here. So if you notice here, I've got the ground wire. Okay, I'm going to slip that underneath this bracket so it's got a good connection underneath, not a rusty connection up top here. We'll cinch that down and then do the same thing in the other 3 brackets that are out there. You can see the wiring orientation. This is where we started. And you can see we're off, 45 degrees or so. It's not going to make a big deal. It does put the capacitor wires, in a good position. Like I said, we'll get to that capacitor here in just a second, but let's get this screwed down and secured. And I'll set this up here so you got a better view. All right, so I've got the new capacitor here. Capcom capacitors. Here's the fella. This one off here. You should only have to take one of the screws off that's over here that holds this in place. Just if you're wondering. Anyways, this is the one. This is a 5 microfarad capacitor, and the technician was out, told me he was reading 2.5 off of that. And it's a inexpensive enough part to replace. $10 on Amazon. That gonna do it as part of the job. All right, and there are literally, you can, as far as connecting it, you can literally run these any which way you want, as far as how you want them to connect in there. There's no rule as to which one goes to which side. Push them down on in there. Put the other one on there as well. I think I'm going to turn this one just because I don't like the way it was. It was so close to that edge on that side. Okay, and I may run some additional electrical tape just around this section here, or find a way to cinch them together just so they're not lying up against and rubbing on that bare metal. Same thing with these guys here. All right, so basically this is ready to go back in, and yeah, let's do it.